Ladies and gents, boys and girls, pronouns of your choosing, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. It is great to see you. It's great to have your ears with us once again. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a fantastic day. We have got a great episode for you. Today is such a special celebration as I welcome back a real good friend, Jonny Garrett, owner of William Wood Watches. Now, as listeners of the podcast, you will be well aware of William Wood Watches, from the Chivalrous to the Bronze to the Valiant and now the Triumph collection. It has been an absolute blessing to be able to see Jonny and the team grow from strength to strength and really pushing themselves, overcoming that discomfort to really grow into their ambition. They recently released the Triumph collection, and this was the watch that Jonny had always dreamed of creating when he first came up with the idea for the company. And it's been one hell of a ride. But before we jump in there, let's hear from our Firefighters Podcast family. Big shout out to our partner, Blue Light Card. Knowing you want discounts when you're out and about, but you forgot to get the discount code, you forgot to log in and check it out on your laptop before you left. Well, you need to get over and get the Blue Light Card app. It's available to download for free via Apple Store, Google Play Store. It means you can easily find your favorite brands and search nearby offers. So this stuff works geographically as well, so you can ping your GPS on, find out what's close to you, find out what discounts are available, and then even use your digital copy of the card to save while you're in the shop. So if you forgot to look it up before you go out and you've forgotten your card, get the app on your phone. You can still access all of your discounts with Blue Light Card. To find out more, head over to bluelightcard.co.uk and start saving today. Also want to give a shout out to our media partners, the Emergency Services Times and the Emergency Services Show. We're also working in line with the Cheshire Fire Challenge and the British Firefighter Challenge. Competition's back on in the UK towards the end of 2021. All the details are in the notes for the show. And that's the names in the frames for today's episode, folks. We've been fortunate enough to have a front row seat seeing William Wood Watches grow to the brand it is now, truly standing toe to toe with other brands in its industry, but having that joker up the sleeve when it comes to the authentic story of his grandfather, in how the company supports operational firefighters all over the world through its charitable work and through its innovative marketing, supporting its ambassadors, sponsoring events, and it's amazing to see hard work paying off. In this episode, we're going to hear about the travel into Watch Valley as Jonny and the team ventured into the Swiss mountains as part of their journey in creating the brand new Triumph collection. And spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it, we're going to talk about the idea behind the break glass box and how that concept has been woven into some of the design of the Triumph collection. I really enjoyed this one. I always love an opportunity to talk with Jonny. I know you're going to love it. If you haven't been over there, guys, come on, I cannot say it enough. This brand is the dictionary definition of authenticity. So as soon as you finish this episode, head on over and take a look. But before then, let's jump on in there with Jonny, and I will see you on the other side. There he is.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
How's it going?
Oh, I'm fantastic. God, it looks gorgeous and sunny there as well. It's beautiful here, my man.
I'm actually having to blast the light out by the curtain.
That's all right. You look like a Bond villain. You should, I feel like you should.
Villain?
You need a cat and just head into the shadows a bit. It's gorgeous over here at the minute, my man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. What are you drinking there? Coconut juice or something?
No, we've got in here effervescent vitamin C tablet and the electrolytes, and nice. Just in a 1.5 litre bottle. It tends to be my little blend that I go for at the minute. 1.5 litre, I go for electrolyte, nice. And then I put a bit of sea salt in there, and then a squirt of lemon.
Okay.
Because I don't drink squash or anything like that.
Okay.
I don't do any sugars. So sometimes I like to get a bit crazy, and I've come up with a random little cocktail.
Good lad.
Did you ever read a book called Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus?
No.
You need to get
it. Sounds like a strong title.
Mate, it is a strong title. You did well there. This is so up your street. There's loads of stuff in there, and one of the things he speaks about in there is the morning cocktail, and that's kind of what's been the birth of that, in the healthy acids for the lemon, and then also just a little bit of vitamin C, always boosting the immune system. But then sea salt, because a lot of us are so constantly dehydrated. So getting that salt first thing in the morning, all those natural minerals, because we lose so much during the night. So get on it.
Yeah, it's good that there's a lot of Yanks, a lot of Americans out here who've been drinking Gatorade. They absolutely swear by it, don't they? Because I mean, I don't know how I don't know how beneficial it is, but they say that it has all of the electrolytes and things like that. But you see it on the telly, don't you, where all of the pro athletes in America over their heads, half of it is commercial, but I do wonder how good it is. But it sounds like you've made your own concoction there, which is better.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. It's a bit like bulletproof coffee.
Gatorade. Yeah. I used to drink bulletproof coffee, yeah. What is it, like 3 or 4 times stronger than coffee?
Something like that. But again, it's just something that's been a commercialized version of just healthy fats in coffee and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, I think what I used to drink was called Rocket Fuel.
Did you have MCT oil in it?
I don't know whether you've heard of that one. It had those kind of bases in it. Yeah, but it was just a much, much higher concentration of caffeine, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Just made you work like a nutter in the gym.
Because I ran out of amphetamines, so I had to just start mainlining the caffeine.
Exactly. Well, that's my baseline. I normally roll out of bed and I hit the amphetamines.
Oh, awesome. You're looking really, really well at the minute, man. I wanted to get you back on because, I mean, since the beginning of the year, we've seen obviously the build up to the launch of the Triumph collection, and then people have been messaging into the podcast, and then when it went live,
so it was the 1st of March.
Yeah, and it's absolutely just rocketed off from our perspective. And I was lucky enough to get a look in on some of the early design stuff, and I thank you for that. And I wanted to go into the depth because the brand itself, when we first came on and we spoke about it, I love the authenticity and I love the creativity that had gone into the straps and the helmet and how you'd interlaced so many aspects of the fire service into the design structure of it. But it seems like it's gone to a whole new level in 2 directions. One direction being the authenticity of watch manufacturing, and I want to ask you about your adventures into the watch valley, but also then
absolutely,
you've also gone further into the fire service. I want to, when we come to it, asking you in about the brake glass box. That aspect was my favorite personally.
Yeah, crazy.
But start us with an adventure to the Swiss Alps and how that's gone.
Yeah, sure. Well, back sort of 4 years ago, we originally went out to Basel anyway in Switzerland. So it's a real shame actually, Pete, because the biggest watch and jewelry trade show in the world was called Basel World. And you'd go to this tiny little sleepy village in Basel in Switzerland, and it would just absolutely pop off every 12 months. So for 11 months of the year, it was just like dead, just with locals in this village. And then every 12 months, it would just absolutely watch officials and brands coming together to display all of their watches. So we went there 4 years ago, and it was funny because that was when all we had was just sketches of the Chivalrous collection, the original one. But I had really fond memories of being out in Switzerland because, just to give you a bit of backstory, actually, it was Britain that used to be the watchmaking hub.
Really?
So in the 18th century, I don't know if many people know this, but in the 18th century, about 50% of all watches produced were made in Britain, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Think about it today.
It doesn't actually surprise me though, because we used to be so rich in our manufacturing capabilities, and also we were at the forefront of a lot of technology. And I'm not saying we've traveled years away from that now, but I do see people like yourself and sort of like Venari and companies like that bringing that manufacturing pride back to what we do. But so many people have taken our sort of template and kind of done it better. So back then we were at least up there.
We were up there. We were the leaders. And actually the reason why Switzerland and places like America started to overtake us was because they learned how to mass produce watches, and Britain didn't really want to adapt. They quite liked the feeling of making a watch from scratch, handmade, which I think is quite correct if you think about it. They didn't really just want to mass produce them in a factory. They wanted to build them from scratch by hand. But then when obviously the First and Second World War came, we had to ship off a whole lot of troops, and that was effectively workers who were in these factories. And then that was when there was the biggest insurgence in Switzerland. But in Britain, it used to be pocket watches. And it's funny, we have contemplated, and that might be something in the future, because I think pocket watches are actually really cool.
Oh, mate, seriously. So I spoke to a gentleman. Oh, crikey, I hate it now when I say something. I can't remember the guy's name. But yeah, when you look at things like Peaky Blinders and stuff like that, and the resurgence that era has had, I think pocket watches would absolutely, as like a micro niche from William Watt, I think definitely 100%. I think you would get traction with that. Definitely. For people that want to be able to have that distinction between one or the other, because these are they're functional, but for some people there's still something they want to wear on a nice night out. But I wear this every day, so if I had that next level as well, I feel like I'd love to be that guy, just taking it out, just
imagine that.
Oh man, I'd love to. Especially, when we get onto the break glass thing, if you saw that on the back of that would look awesome. That would look really good.
Oh, I mean, but that's the thing with the pocket watch. Actually, just thinking out loud now. Obviously, the key element for us is every time we release a new collection, we've got 4 collections now. It always has to have upcycling in it. So with a pocket watch, it could have some kind of crazy, cool element to it, like the chain. Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm so you just said it. Yeah, I was like, mate, there's so many places you could find something like that. Oh, crikey. I'm just trying to think aloud now.
For sure.
Aspects of the fire service that have that chain aspect to it. You'd find loads. I can't think off the top of my head. But
for sure.
For example, all of our Acme Thunderer whistles. So our Acme Thunderer whistles that we wear inside our sleeve pockets, whenever there's an emergency evacuation of a property, you blow your Acme Thunderer whistle down the radio. Now, obviously, we use radios and we use emergency evacuations with our telemetry systems, but way back when, you would just hear constant blasts on these Acme Thunderers, and if you heard it on a fireground, you'd just pull your whistle out and start blowing it, and everybody would withdraw from the building to a place of safety, and they were always on a chain.
Start blowing it. And
you had something jump in then.
Okay, mate, I'm back. Yeah, the funny thing there is, so my partner Aida's here as well, and you connected somehow to the Bluetooth headphones that she has. She sat there watching the phone. Hang on a minute, I'm speaking to Pete now on the Firefighter Podcast. And
you couldn't make that up. I love her.
So
I love it.
Oh God.
She's like, "Are you still working? I thought we were relaxing today.
Probably be a first
be doing it."
We're just like, right, we're just going to tap in a second guest. I know. Oh, quality.
No, when I was thinking about the chains, though, there'd be so many ways to go with the chain.
For some reason, it just keeps connected to my my missus's headphones. So now I'm actually using her headphones. I know. Cool. Yes. So with Switzerland and the Jura Valley, also known as Watch Valley, it basically goes from Basel to Geneva, and it straddles the whole west coast of Switzerland, and it sort of borders France as well. It's beautiful. I mean, if you think you could choose anywhere in the world to be able to build watches, I just find it so cool that they didn't choose some crazy urban concrete schoolyard. They ended up choosing just this beautiful, beautiful countryside in Switzerland.
There is something about those images as well. I don't know if photographers naturally get drawn to the watch industry as well, but I mean, especially when you look across your social media platforms, some of the locales that these things are made, there's something incredibly picturesque about the entire construction process, effectively.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think in a way as well, it almost adds to the prestigious nature of watch development. When you think of Switzerland, you do think of that, don't you? You think it's luxurious. You think there's a lot of luxurious brands there. The landscape helps, and this is why when you can compare production from Switzerland to other parts of the world, Switzerland always wins because of all of those different factors. And of course, you've got places like Italy as well, don't you, Pete, for things like leather. When you've got genuine Italian leather.
They've got such a prestige when it comes to supercars. There's something about that. Yeah, the supercars, the watches, it falls into that entire luxury brand that even if it was the best manufacturing in the world, with all due respect, if it was made in somewhere, I don't necessarily want to slate any particular area, but it would lose that aspect of it. But I've always seen William Wood Watches' desire to make, and even the watches you come out now, even the Triumph collection, you've made it accessible, such a really, prestige and luxury item, accessible to so many more people. I didn't know if when you took the manufacturing aspect to the traditional, Watch Valley, whether that was going to stay in line with your desire to sort of book a few trends, because you sit in a strange tightrope in the middle, you know what I mean? You're always trying to walk that balance between making it accessible to everybody, but with the same caliber and sort of quality make as some of the other brands.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the constant battle though, isn't it? Because I mean, at the end of the day, we class ourselves as a British watchmaker. I mean, if we were to bring watchmaking completely back to the UK, the investment is just insane, Pete, because you've got a country like Switzerland who are already ready to go. They've got factories, they've got workshops, they've got 150 years worth of watchmaking history.
Yeah.
The UK has that, but then it had a bloody massive gap of I guess almost 75 years. And what you'll see when there's watchmakers who actually make their watches 100% in the UK, assembled in the UK, they have to invest. I'm talking double-digit millions of pounds to building their own advanced manufacturing facilities.
Crikey.
To obviously because we haven't got it. Unless some of the bigger British brands opened up their workshops and allowed other British brands to come through so that we could make them 100% in Britain, that could be cool. But then again, if they've invested sort of double-digit millions of pounds to build these facilities, would they not just want to keep it for themselves? I don't know.
How much value do you think how much value do you think the customer places on that aspect of it, though? Because I feel like it's not as much of a priority.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. This is where I think some brands have got it wrong. Where, I mean, come on, any brand who's investing double-digit millions into physically building a watch workshop, employing 20 to 30 horologists in country, it's a big gamble to take. And if you could take that money and you could invest it into marketing or research and development or corporate social responsibility, maybe even giving it back to charities, etc. I think at the end of the day, a Swiss-made watch, for me, at this moment in time, will always be seen as the pinnacle of watches. That's the most luxury you can go.
Yeah.
So it sounds amazing. Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I do hold my hat up to anybody who's going to try and reinvigorate British watchmaking that far. Like we believe just by being a British watch brand who is based in the UK, uses upcycled firefighting materials in the UK, pays taxes in the UK, employs designers and the team in the UK, we see that as a significant contribution. But by taking it to that next level,
you could shop a lot of that out to other countries and take that away from the UK. But also, you would be sacrificing, and again, we referenced it before, how much charitable work you guys do with your alignments with the Firefighters charity and other work that you do. All of it's got to come out of the top line at the end, and you could stick too belligerently to an ideology, and then it would sort of hamper you and hamstring you in order to stop you doing the other things that you want to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And when you're trying to build a brand as well, and you are doing it without shareholders, without investment, and you're just basically you're making decisions now for the next 10, 20, 30 years, and you're reinvesting profits. You're constantly thinking about, okay, we can't just make a decision for today. It's got to be for the next almost few decades ahead. And I guess with that brings a savviness around how you invest. That being said, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. I mean, obviously, a lot of brands these days, they'll think of an idea, they'll go and raise money straight away, and they'll be looking for an exit plan within 2 to 3 years. And you'll know it. You'll know the brand is a reputable high street brand within a small space of time because they've been backed by 20, 30 million quid. So yeah. It's just a different way. It's a different way.
But how did it work traveling out there, still as the sort of proverbial new kid on the block into Watch Valley and trying to establish yourselves? Because it's still a hell of a punt to be going all the way there and launching the new Triumph collection at the same time.
Yeah, it's true. And this is where, taking into account the last 4 years of what we've achieved with the business and the previous 3 collections, the Chivalrous, the Valiant, and the Bronze Edition, I mean, that was like literally essential for us to be able to approach a Swiss-made workshop, to be able to say, look, guys, we are a contender, we are a serious player, and we're going places effectively, and we have something very, very unique, and we'd love for you to be on board, but if it's not you, it's going to be someone else. We're going to get this built no matter what, so we'd love for you to be part of the journey. And it didn't take long for us to find the right partner, because first and foremost, I mean, one of the main things we get told by watch journalists, is we have such a PRable story.
Yeah.
And I think once people have heard it and they really understand what we're trying to achieve, we seem to be building up a really nice loyal following, not just through customers, but even our suppliers. I mean, God, our suppliers, our manufacturers, they're all really, really excited to,
you've got
to see
such a
how we progress
USP.
as well.
I think people, you really have carved out a tremendous niche, and it's almost like with every new iteration, the grooves just go deeper and deeper. But how scary is it setting out on a new design idea, and how early on did sort of the idea of Triumph and the name of it come about?
Yeah, it is scary, because you start to realize why these Swiss luxury watch brands have been around for so long, and why they need such deep pockets. Because when you're building a Swiss-made chronograph series, at the end of the day, there's a lot of investment. I know you and I have talked about this before we went live.
Yeah.
That there is a lot of investment, not just monetary, but time and sampling and process and research and development. But I guess about not even 12 months ago, I'd say 4 years ago, when I really started the brand, I always knew and had in the back of my mind that this would be the watch which I always dreamt about making.
Wow, there's a statement.
And always knew that it would be a Swiss-made luxury watch which would compete with the bigger guys, but it would have some really, really cool, amazing features which would pull in the fire service. And when you talk about the case back, which has break glass press here, and it's got the movement which looks like the fire alarm. Yeah, that actually came to me about, I don't know, probably 9 months ago. Just sat in the garden in Ballum, and it just struck me like a lightning bolt. And I came in and told my partner Aida about it, and we both agreed that we thought it would be an awesome idea. Not just because it's taken it further into the heritage of the fire service, but it's also just a really cool play on words, because it's sealed with a sapphire crystal glass, which protects the movement from water damage, dust, anything that can get into the inside of the watch. So we always have
you've got such a great way of taking something so conventional that we see in our day-to-day lives and making it so classy. I don't know if it's the overarching brand and the fact that you've gone and shown that you can do it before, but creativity and innovation is a really difficult thing to repeat. By its very nature, it almost suggests it's a one-off spur of enlightenment when you get that sort of lightning bolt strike, and you can't rely on that sitting in the garden every 12 months for the lightning bolt to hit you. And it seems to be having repeated strikes, and this one is it's definitely the best one I've seen yet.
I think the hardest part was we had, I guess, a 9 to 12 month period where we were designing it, and everything was really secretive, and we knew in the back of our heads. I mean, you know more than anyone, Pete, as well, when we talk about that sort of negative voice that comes into your head, and we talk about self-development, and you spend 12 months building something, and I remember in the 8-week build-up, we were sort of thinking, God, are people going to like it? Have we maybe gone too far with it? And when we launched it, I mean, it literally blew our expectations out of the water. Which was lovely, just to have that reaffirmation that what we'd thought about and what we've been talking about for the last 12 months was just so well received by the world.
How many other people do you have involved in the creative process? Because when I started reading more into it about the heat, oxygen, light aspects of it, there seems such a collision of ideas that have made the design and made the watch what it is. Was that another sort of garden sitting lightning moment, or where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so ideas like that, I mean, I can't take anything away from the really close network that I've got around me. And this is where I think people talk a lot about their team and maybe their executive board, but the people that I see as my executive board are my loved ones around me. It's my partner, Aida. It's my family. It's her sisters. It's my friends. When you have an idea like that, they've seen the growth of the brand so much that they just get it. They understand the values. They've seen every single collection. They've pretty much got every single collection. So when you have an idea and a lightning bolt like that one came to me just because there was 3 different colors, and I was thinking, what would be a really cool way to be able to tie that into the fire service? And that's when I thought, well, what about the fire triangle? Heat, oxygen, and fuel. And then again, it's just an idea like that. You chuck it out there to your very close, intimate friends and family and network, and then you just sort of talk it through really. And you think, well, because the one thing you've also always got to be careful with luxury is it tacky or is it luxury? And that's really actually quite a fine line.
Definitely.
So what
I look at some of the big brands out there, and they're when they get covered in diamonds, it might as well be fake. You're like, that's just too flashy. You're like, it's just gaudy and it looks horrible. And they're like, that's £200,000. You're like, it looks rubbish. It looks really horrific.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be seen dead in it. And you're like, well, you haven't got style. I'm like, mate, that's too much.
Yeah, exactly. And you see that so much. But then again, that there is a watch market which service that entire arena, isn't there? Where it's almost like people won't buy watches unless it's got diamonds and 24 karat gold on it, and it's all blinged up.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, a bit of self-reflection. To be fair to them, would I be? You know what? I already know the answer. Would I be as in love with William Wood watches if it didn't have an association with the fire service? No, I probably wouldn't. To be honest, prior to getting one of your watches, I had been gifted a watch maybe 10 years ago, and I had barely worn it because I was worried about scratching it. And it wasn't until I saw, the markings on the straps and stuff like that, where I was like, no, you know what? It's got a bit of rustic about it. It's got a bit of practicality about it. I like this. And it was that aspect that led me into doing it. So maybe, other cultures have those same associations with luxury, and their definition of luxury is shiny and diamonds and flash. So, no, I suppose it's no different.
But this is the thing when you're serving the general public, isn't it? In any sector, but especially with a brand. It's unbelievable how different the general public's taste is. Even when it comes to our fire hose straps colours, some people will look at a colour like a yellow, which I think is absolutely awesome, and be like, it's gregarious, I can't wear that, I'd never be able to get away with it. But I love the green and the blue, and I'm more subtle. And some people will obviously be more extreme and say, why would I want to wear a firefighter's watch? I want to have that Rolex, that clean cut stainless steel. And again, this is when
you see the more unique and outlandish, the more I like it. I've just are you aware of a company called Wacky Socks?
No.
Have a look on Amazon.
I like the name though.
Yeah, obviously, seriously. And I buy stuff like that. I'll always wear like the pink top, or I'll always wear some crazy socks, or my underwear is always a bit weird or something like that. Or if there's a shirt in black and then a shirt in pink, I'll always go for that more flamboyant one. And that's what I love about the straps. I absolutely love the yellow one. I love that it has that flair about it, because I think there's a certain underlying rebel aspect, and I mean the sheer idea that firefighters run towards danger when everyone else is running away from it says that we have an aspect of doing differently from others. Something that other people would consider to be conventional. It's down to us to blaze a trail and go against the norm sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I love the use of blaze a trail.
Yeah, we gotta get that one in there, mate. It's not thrown together,
Yeah. What's that? There's that other quote: "Do not go where the path may lead. Instead, go where there is no path and leave a trail." I like that quote as well.
100%, man. I've got half of them all over my wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. But I'm trying to read that one out loud without it on my wall. I'd say that's a really, really valid point, because firefighters are always breaking the norm, really, aren't they? I mean, when you think about the job in itself, it is.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. No.
It's unconventional. I think you summed it up. Yeah, you completely summed it up. So to be able to create a watch which is really unconventional as well, I think it's a match made in heaven.
Now, talk to me about how the brass cufflinks came into it as well, because that really gives it a real ensemble feeling of being able to have a nice gift, is the way it felt from me, from William Wood watches, and another way for people to demonstrate, without knowing what it is, you wouldn't think when you looked at them, but I thought that was a lovely little addition. Yeah,
that all came about because at the end of the day, with this watch piece, this is obviously our most prestigious watch yet, and we were trying to think of ways of how can we enhance the offering, and that's why we spent so long, not just on the cufflinks, but the presentation box as well. So for any of the listeners who haven't seen the box, the box is literally taking inspiration from the fire alarm. It's made from genuine Italian leather. It literally has a viewing glass window, which actually looks like a fire alarm with the Triumph Collection visibly. You can visibly see it through the glass. You lift up the box, and then there's an emergency pull cord. And when you pull that cord, you get access to the bottom layer of the box, where you have an upcycled fire hose compartment where you can keep your fire hose straps in. And you've also got an antique brass cufflinks compartment where you can obviously house the William Wood cufflinks too. So that in itself was a journey pulling that together. But the cufflinks was a way of just enhancing the offering, because we've never really ventured into accessories. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool for our customers to be able to purchase really a masterpiece, a work of art, something that we've been wanting to build for the last 4 years. But it's not just the watch, it's the unboxing experience. It's not just the unboxing experience, it's the cufflinks, which are actually made from antique brass, to be able to match, of course, the 1920s British brass firefighter's helmet, which we actually melt down and put into the crown of every watch. And when you see the old sort of antique brass patina on the level of detail that the cufflinks has, the cufflinks themselves look absolutely amazing. And we've had so many customers who said, can we just buy the cufflinks separately? And I'm sure at some stage we will, but at the minute we just want to let our Triumph customers really enjoy it and feel like they have access to something very exclusive. And then we would release the cufflinks.
That's a big part of it as well, isn't it? Having that exclusivity, because I've seen the passion that sits within the culture. Because even your sort of commitment to those who have already gone first, who have put their faith in the brand, in the fact that they all had that early access and that early interest in the Triumph collection, because they were able to jump in there, see the new design, see the offerings, and I love that. I think it's really important that you do sustain that commitment to it. Otherwise, sort of the bottom just falls out of the authenticity behind the content. Have you been able to keep up with that? Because I remember last time we spoke, you'd done a written letter almost to every single person, or you personally in some form or another had contacted each person, each purchaser. But the way that the business is just taking off now, that can't be sustainable, brother, surely.
Well, for the first 100 customers who bought our Triumph collection, because it's worth saying, as you say, we produced these watches in batches of 100, and the first 100 watches carried a whole load of benefits. There was a discount off the retail price. There was a quicker delivery date. You get the complimentary antique brass William Wood cufflinks. But also you get a hand-signed letter from me welcoming you to the Triumph collection. And that's obviously our watches have future value, but we don't really want our customers to be thinking about future value. We want them to be thinking about sentimental value. The amount of customers who have said, I've bought this Triumph collection because I'm going to hand it down to my son or my daughter one day, and I want to have the founder's letter welcoming me to the Triumph Club as part of the watch. So yeah, I'm going to be hand signing 100 Triumph collection letters, all on William Wood gold foil letter-headed paper, all on gold foil envelopes, sealed with a nice red wax.
You know what? I do see that happening as well, though, because my daughter's had done it several times, where she'll have a friend round or something like that, and she'll come and she'll take my watch off and she'll take it over to her friend. And she'll go, look, my daddy's a fireman, and this is his watch, this is his thingy bob, and this is actual fire hose. Cool. She's only 7 years age, and she's like, this is actually fire hose and all this sort of stuff. And when she does that, it just really makes me smile. And I don't think she would do that. She's never done that with anything else. She wouldn't do that with another watch or a wallet or something like that. And it's something that's so unique about the brand, and she even knows, it's number 19 of 250, and she'll point it out on the back. And it's just little things like that where you're like, wow. No, you know what, it does actually make a difference. She knows it better than I do, to be honest, but yeah, it becomes something that's part of the person, and it's not just another purchase, in this world of instant gratification where we're buying things and throwing them away every 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's lovely to hear that, Pete, because as you say, they carry so much sentimental value. But the types of emails that we get like that on a weekly basis is lovely, and it's almost like it's a motivator, but at the same time, it's a constant reminder that you feel like, wow, we are on the path to something really quite special here. And only being 4 years in, when you get feedback like that, you sort of think, well, when we get another 6 years in, and we're 10 years in as a brand, and we've got more people telling stories like this, because what we also find is our customers not only become our friends, but our ambassadors too. I mean, they're going around and they're talking to their family, they're meeting with their friends, and they're going, hey, have you seen this watch? Have you heard this story?
Yeah.
And the amount of sort of referrals we get from people who have just worn the watch at a coffee catch up with their friends, and then they'll say, hey, you've got to get one of these. Yeah. And then they'll come to the website and they'll say, oh, well, it was Terry, it was Jim, it was James, who actually got one of these watches just literally 2 months ago, and we want a piece of the action too.
I love
and
that.
I think that's the true. It's the true test, that, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't buy that. That's marketing that you can't get.
Well, that's the thing. And I mean, in this day and age as well, we're finding that marketing is just getting so much more difficult because
it's just so noisy. It's just so noisy, isn't it?
It's just yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I mean, you'll know it as well when you're promoting the Firefighter podcast. You've got people like Apple now. When you do the iOS 14 update, you can now tick out of being retargeted. So that's sending literally ripples through all of the retail sector, because how do we now retarget customers who have really shown an interest in William Wood watches? So now we're having to try and think of other ways to do that. And a big focus for us this year is going to be almost like how do we go away from conventional marketing through social media? And I think really what I want to do is maybe go a bit more old school and go more in person. I've got a plan where I want to really get around fire stations in the UK and go in person and present the brand to them, because what we find now, Pete, is so we find with our customers that about 80% of our customers are watch aficionados and 20% are firefighters, and we'd love to balance that out more. We want to have more firefighters who are wearing our watches, especially in the UK. It's crazy when you look at our market share numbers in the UK. There are still so many firefighters who, if you mention William Wood watches to, have never heard of us. And
seriously, and that's how obviously it's different for me. I live in a bubble, but and again, but even the people I interact with, mind you, we have a lot of people from across the world that speak about it. Sometimes it is the first time they've interacted with it when they see when they see or hear the podcast, but I feel like it's further spread than that. Maybe, I mean, it's always tough to get a return on investment to know how people hear about things, because you have to force them to give that feedback, and that can be difficult sometimes. But it must be a reassurance to know that, I mean, clearly from the success of all four of the iterations of it now, it is growing. But now you've got to feel like that same innovation that's brought the Triumph to fruition has now got to be poured back into adapting the way you go about getting the word out there.
Yeah, you've literally hit the nail on the head. We always knew from the outset that we wanted to be a watch company that could compete with the big Swiss luxury watch guys, and we proved that. It's just I don't think we understood that it would be the majority of our customers being watch aficionados who have maybe 30, 40, 50 watches in their collection, and they bought a William Wood watch because it's just so damn unique. What we want is we want to be supporting firefighters even more. And this is where I think to reach firefighters in the UK, I really think it would be cool just to get some kind of vintage fire truck or some kind of cool fire vehicle and just drive around the UK, drop into fire stations and just show people the watches and just present to the different watches. Well, now I know it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, but I think it could have a big impact.
Because things have gone so well now with the fourth version and now with the Triumph launch, is it a case of disciplining yourself now to not feel the urge to necessarily go again? Because I know what you're like, you have so many ideas and you're so naturally creative. Is it just a case of consistency now? Because I've started to, when the podcast is still so young in its age, but I fell foul like a month or so ago of thinking, what I need to do next, what I need to, you know what? Consistency for me is the key, because the growth is now getting that compound effect. And I see so much of that in William Wood watches. Obviously, you're years and leagues ahead in terms of success metrics, but you've clearly nailed the recipe. Do you know what I mean? You've got that magic mix. Is it now a case of consistency? And
yeah, so in answer to that question, it's a case of now just I guess almost battening down the hatches and basically working with the collections that we have, because I could literally map out the next. We were talking about this on a call yesterday. I could literally map out the next 10 years of collections that I want to drop.
Yeah.
And as you say, constantly creative. Got some insane ideas, but we don't want customers to come to a website and be flooded with choice. I mean, at the end of the day now, with 4 collections, what we have to do in for the rest of the year is churn. We've just got to be, as you say, consistent.
Yeah. You've caught the wave.
We've got to sell.
Now you've got to ride that wave. Otherwise,
Exactly.
you've caught it and you fall straight off because you can't deliver on the promise. You've pitched it well. You've had a great launch. You've had more interest than you anticipated. Now it's head down and deliver.
That's exactly it. It's about just getting as many of our watches onto really passionate people's wrists as possible, and it's about effectively growing the brand, because you can constantly drop new collections every 6 to 12 months, and it's great and it's exciting. But we're at the stage now where we can compete with other big reputable watch brands because we have 4 beautiful collections at every budget and at every price point. And now all we have to do is just keep growing that exposure really, and getting more and more watches onto people's wrists. And I think sometimes that's what businesses lose focus of, because the sexy and glamorous thing to do is constantly try and release that really new cool product. And it is fun. It is really fun working towards a goal like that.
Everybody loves a launch. Everybody loves a launch. I get that, but you're right. If you've already got something that's worked, you almost need to give the respect that Triumph has earned. Do you know what I mean? It's like anticipating the arrival of a new child, and then, you know, as soon as it's 1 year old, you're like, oh, I'm bored of it now. No, hang on a minute. Do you know what I mean? Give it its time, give it its dues, because it's something incredible that you've spent so much time creating. But I mean, the podcast works in a different way, I suppose, in that I'm like a kid in a sweet store. I'm running around bumping into fantastic guests all the time, and I want to get the episode out, But then you almost don't give the last episode its time. You know, you don't give it its lifetime before you bang something straight in front of it and go, oh no, let's move on to the next one. And you're like, oh God. Whereas this is, you know, Triumph really is, like you said, it's the watch you've wanted to make probably since you first ever had the idea of Willingwood watches, and you know, in the name of your grandfather, thinking this is the thing that I had always worked towards. But now that you've got there, it's a little bit like you can see further still and go, oh my God, I can see the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to savor the moment. And I think that's the hardest thing with people who are trying to drive the agenda and grow and take brands and podcasts and different organizations to that next level. Because really a perfect year for us now would be having our 4 collections and just really increasing how many new customers we introduce to the brand. So we're constantly trying to work out ways where we can think of how we can get our customers, who again we see as our extended brand ambassadors, to refer more people to the business. And if by the end of 2021 we've been able to grow how many customers we have and not release a single additional watch to the market, that would be a dream for us. But what we're trying to do now is really be seen as one of the go-to British watch companies, not just in the firefighting space or the rescue service space, but the go-to British watch company, which makes you think these guys are authentic, they're cool, they're doing something different, they hold customer service at the pinnacle, and they give back. And I want to feel good about making a purchase. And I think what we found in 2020, as a result of COVID, people were at home, people who were lucky enough to retain their jobs and have a disposable income because they weren't going on holiday, they weren't buying coffees and lunches or commuting into work. They were treating themselves to a watch like ours, which would be seen as a luxury purchase, which some may feel guilty about. But because we give back and because we're supporting rescue services, firefighters, and how much with clapping for the NHS, it sort of took the edge off a purchase and made somebody feel really good about it. So it felt like it was all of the hard work and the research of what makes a brand different in 2020 came together, and we ended up riding the wave and had one of the best, and did have the best year we've ever had.
It's absolutely incredible, mate. I've loved watching this year, and I cannot wait to see all the brand ambassadors that are yet to come, and to see the Triumph, truly flourish and achieve the potential and beyond what you had envisaged for it and what I see it come.
To see it triumph.
That's it, baby. You know it. Jonny, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast today, my man. I really enjoyed it. Send my love to the good lady. I'm sorry I wasn't able to speak to her for a little bit longer. I know you cut us off quite soon, but I'm sure I'll talk to her later. It's all right.
Good man, yeah. I should have just let her jump in and just take the final 40 minutes.
She did. She was like, oh, is that Pete? Is that Pete? Yeah, no, tell him I'll call him later. I was like, yeah,
yeah, exactly, yeah. He's on the next show.
Well, send love to everybody,
okay, mate,
and I look forward to seeing you soon, all right?
You too.
Take care, brother.
Okay, mate. See ya. Bye.
That was my conversation with Jonny. 2021 is the year that William Wood watches truly arrived on the scene of the global watch market. I just feel like the idea of William watches has been like this volcanic eruption that has happened in the seabed of the fire service, and it's slowly risen to the point it's at now, where with the release of the Triumph collection, it's broken through the surface for everybody to see and recognize it as such an incredible brand with a leader like Jonny who conveys such passion. Cannot wait to see what they do next. Whatever it is, as a listener of the podcast, you are definitely going to be the first ones to hear. So thanks for coming back, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you soon right here on the Firefighters Podcast.